Hey guys, Rob Avis here with Verge Permaculture.ca. This is part 5 of our 6-part video series on why your permaculture business might not be succeeding. In the last video, we talked about the importance of finding fit and how if you're selling without the intent of finding fit, you're probably losing customers, you're probably pissing off the customers that you are losing, and you may be creating a bad taste in the customers that you do end up getting because maybe you're pushy or you haven't come at the selling process in the right way. If you understand this concept of fit, in this video we're going to talk about the importance of creating a solid sales process. So sales process is probably one of the most important skills I've learned over the last decade. I started off as a mechanical engineer working in the oil and gas industry, and somebody else was always selling my jobs. All I had to do was complete them. I was the cog in the machine. When I started my own consulting business and even my own education business, all of a sudden I was directly responsible for selling stuff to people, and I was horrible at it. I was horrible at it for lots of reasons we've already talked about in the previous videos. I had guilt associated with charging money. I didn't feel like services like this should cost anything because they were good for everybody and we're trying to fix the planet, so why should anybody have to pay for it? And I had all these limiting beliefs around what was right and what wasn't right within my business. And as I worked through those things started to improve for me. And eventually I kind of came head to head with my sales process, which sucked. So let's dig into this sales process a little bit. Let me give you an example of a bad sales process, and then we can talk a little bit about why it was bad, and then we can talk about how that person could improve their sales process. This concept is applicable to farmers, people that sell generators, people that sell permaculture design services. If you're selling anything, this information is valuable to you. So I tried to buy a generator for a client of mine in central Alberta a couple of years ago, and I called the generator person after I'd looked them up on Google, and they seemed like they knew what they were doing based on their website, so I gave them a phone call. I called them up and I said, hey, one of my clients is looking for a 10 kilowatt generator. Can you tell me a little bit about how your service works and what that might look like to buy a generator? And he said, okay, well, we have 3 brands that we generally service or stock and install, and we like them for all these reasons. And so that was great. He knew his stuff. He knew why some generators were better than others, which was congruent with what I understood. Being an engineer, I understand a lot about these things. And so, so far so good. And turns out, just as a side note, that technicians actually, once they're trained how to properly sell, looking for fit, are actually the best salesmen out there. So far so good. This guy knew technically enough about generators that I was comfortable with the fact that he knew what he was talking about technically. And I said, okay, great. So we're going to go with the Kohler 10 kilowatt generator, but before I do that, I need to get a bit more information from you. So can you tell me how much it costs, what's involved in your design and installation process, and what kind of time frame we could be looking at if we choose to go, and how much do I have to pay you to get started? And he said, well, I don't really know how much it's going to cost. It depends on how many kVA the power company has placed into the transformer, and it depends on your location, and I don't really know if I have any generators in stock, and so I don't really know. And it's like, well, I'm getting a bit frustrated at this point because this guy's not really giving me any information, and in fact he's actually losing trust at this point, because if he doesn't have a good understanding of how these projects typically run, or he can't explain to me how they typically run, in my mind I'm thinking, oh man, maybe this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, or maybe he's never actually installed a generator, or maybe he's just getting going. And so when you're in a sales process, you have a very short period of time to gain the individual's trust, and if you don't have good answers that are true and congruent with what it is that you do, then you're going to lose that trust and you're going to lose the sale. So I said, okay, well, can you give me an upper and lower range for this Kohler 10 kilowatt generator? Like, what would be a low number and what would be a high number? I won't hold you to the sale. He said, well, I don't know. It all depends. And I said, well, it depends on what? Like, do you have to come do an assessment? Do you have to come take a look at the situation, the site? He's like, yeah, we'll have to come and take a look at it. And I said, okay, well, when can you look at it? He's like, well, I'm really busy right now. I might be able to make it out on Saturday, but I don't know. Can you be out there? And I said, well, I can arrange to be out there. Can you give me a commitment that you're going to come if I go all the way out to this client's house and wait for you? Yeah, okay, I'll let you know on Friday. And it's like, well, actually, I need to know now if I'm going to plan my weekend to be out at my client's property. Okay, I'll come. I'll be there between 9 and 10. So I go out to this property to wait for this guy to come and do an assessment. He doesn't show up. I've now wasted my whole weekend. I'm pretty mad. So that's an example of a really poor sales process. And inside of there, I'm actually surprised that I even went with the person. One of the reasons that I did is there's just not many people in his region that does what he does, and so I was kind of stuck using his service. So somebody could come in there with a slightly different sales process with the kind of expertise that he had and could completely crush it. So let's now go through a good sales process, and you can see the difference between it. And this will make the difference between a sale and happy customers and frustrated customers that don't necessarily trust what it is that you're doing. Okay, so same conversation starts. We talk about the technicalities of a generator, and keep in mind that I'm an engineer. I'm talking to him about something technical that I understand, but likely most of the people that are calling him to buy generators are not engineers and may not know what a kVA is, or a kWh, or kilowatt hour, or a quick power shutdown, or any of these a power panel or amps and volts. People don't know about this stuff, so you kind of have to take that into account when you're building your sales process out. So let's start right from the beginning and go through, and we'll go through the same sales call, except that I'll strip out all of the jargon and bring it down to a level that anybody calling me about a generator could understand. Hey, my name is Rob. I'm interested in buying a 10 kilowatt generator. Could you tell me how much this is going to cost? Oh yeah, sure. We'd love to go through this. So we sell 3 different brands. There's kind of pros and cons for each one, but generally, we've tried these out over the last 10 years and they're all really effective. And so, regardless of which one you go with, you're going to get a great product. Cummins is kind of the high end, and so it's kind of like the Rolex of generators, versus Kohler, which is kind of like the Honda of generators. So you can see now we're using analogies to kind of compare to something that somebody would understand. Like, what's a Rolex? What's a Honda? Well, a Honda is really reliable and they're pretty cost effective. A Rolex is kind of the creme de la creme, and so we're creating analogies so that the person that's on the other side of the call can relate to. Okay, great. That sounds awesome. We're probably interested in the Kohler generator, and I think it's probably 10 kilowatts, but I'm not sure. How do you guys go about assessing whether or not that's a fit? Well, actually, we have a $500 assessment fee. So we'll come out, take a look at your property. We'll look at your panel, your power panel. We'll look at what the power company has put in, see how it's all connected, understand exactly what it is we have to do as an electrical company to site the generator, to make sure that it's safe, to make sure that it meets all the codes. And then from there, we can come back to you with a really accurate quote, because we've spent enough time really understanding the whole system and how it's all going to fit together. Generally, we like to talk to you for a little bit longer to get a sense of what it is your goals are. What are you trying to achieve as a result of having this generator? Is it just backup power, or is it to run a welder? Like, what are you trying to do with it? And then after that, we'll give you a quote. And if you decide to go ahead with it, then we'll refund you the, or we'll put the $500 that you've already paid for our assessment fee towards the purchase of your generator. Wow, that sounds great. Okay, so when can we get started? Well, we have time availability to do an assessment on your property, because you're 100 kilometers away? Yeah, we're 100 kilometers away. Oh, okay. Yeah, we can totally fit you in next week on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. all of those times, all of those days, we can come out either in the morning or the afternoon. It's up to you, depending on what works. Do any of those dates work for you? Yeah, Thursday's great. Okay, perfect. So we can take Visa over the phone if you'd like, and we can get your assessment. I'll grab a few little bits of information from you, and then we can kick this off. Perfect. Okay, great. So from start to finish there, every time I had a question, he had an answer. And every time the answer came out, there was no lag in time. You could tell he had done it before. You could tell that, yes, he was charging me $500, whereas the last guy didn't, but it gave me a sense of security that if I had to go up and meet him, or that he was going to show up, he was going to put the time in to understand my project, to understand my goals, and that if I ended up buying a generator from him, he would apply it to the eventual purchase. So it's not really costing me anything unless I decide not to go with it. And so you can tell that this guy respects his own time, which sends me a signal that if he respects his time, he's probably going to respect my time as well. And so he could completely change his sales process. So having a good sales process is going to completely change the dynamic and the interaction with your client. And part of that is having a good relationship with money. Part of that is having done enough projects that you understand the progression and the process. Part of that is having enough confidence in your own ability to be able to represent yourself. And if you get all of those kind of ingredients right, which you can do relatively quickly if you just start keeping some of these things conscious, then your sales process will end up guiding your business to success. Even people that don't end up buying from you, that go through your sales process, if they're impressed by your sales process, because chances are on something like $10,000, they're going to have gone and talked to a couple of people, they'll end up recommending you even if they don't buy you or buy your stuff, because you're one of the only guys that they've talked to that actually has a good sales process. So hopefully you can see, based on those two examples, the difference between a good and a poor sales process. If your sales process is struggling from any of these issues, it's not streamlined, you don't know how to create indifference, you don't know how to talk to your clients or the right questions to ask, or how to basically just design a really smooth process for your consulting business or for any of your products that you're selling, you might find Regenerative Business Mentorship a good fit for you. I'm going to put a link to the course in the show notes below. If you want to talk about your sales process or any other problems that you're having in your business, give us a call. There's no cost to chat, and we'll determine whether or not you're a fit for the program. The Regenerative Business program is 100% guaranteed, so we only let people in that are going to get value out of the program. If you found this video useful, hit the subscribe button, because the next video is going to be really great. We're going to talk all about niching and how important it is and how it ties all of the stuff that we've been talking about together. If you found this video useful, hit the like button, and please leave any comments below and ask any questions you've got. And if you've got a specific video about your business that you want to ask, put it in there. I'll make a video about it.